Always a beautiful start to our Kartik 2021 program. Vanchakalpa Turbischa, Kripa Sindhuevacha, Patitnam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo Namanama. Om Gyan Tiramandasya, Gyanjana Salakaya, Chakshumilitam Yena, Tashmai Shri Guru Namaha. Trinada pi sunichana, Tarora pi sahishnana, Amanina manarina, Kitni sadahari, Tatenu kampam susamik shamano, Bunjnevatma kritam vipakam, Hitvak papudevidam namoshte, Jivata yomukti sadaya bak, Vachavegam manashkrodavegam, Jivavegam nurapastavegam, Itam vegam yogashaheta dira, Salvamapimam pridvim sasyasyad, Anya balasata sunyam, Gyan kamadyanavritam, Anukalenya krishnu shilanam, Bhakti utama. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. My unlimited Shashtanga Dandavats to my most merciful Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, to Srila Prabhupada, to the whole of the Parampara, to Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and to Shri Radha and Krishna. And my Dandavat Pranams, Sashtanga Dandavat Pranams, over and over again, to the most beautiful assembled devotees who have come to honor and worship and absorb themselves in this Kartik Braj Leela, and to all those devotees watching on YouTube and Facebook and future recordings. And also I like to honor all devotees who are honoring Kartik around the world. Hare Krishna, and good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. Very, very excited and enthusiastic to be introducing our fourth day of Parikram, Saturday, the 23rd of October. And we have, as usual, a beautiful lineup. We have Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, we have Sripad Bhaktivedanta Sri Dandi Maharaj, and then our later session, which is at 6 p.m. UK time, we're very fortunate to be welcoming Srimati Shamrani Didi, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Bhagwat Maharaj, and Shriman Prem Priyojan Prabhu. Today is a very, very fortunate and beautiful, auspicious day. The locations we're going to are, top of the world, top of the whole cosmic universe, manifest and unmanifest. To Sri Damodar Temple, to Sringaravat, to Sevakunj and Imlital. So it's more than just an action-packed day. It's it's one of the most Rasika days today. So I don't want to take any more of the time of our beautiful speakers. So I'm going to hand over the Zoom Vyasa-san to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Sri Dandi Maharaj. And thank you so much to both you, Nemi Maharaj, so far for such a beautiful start to our program in our Gurudev's 100th anniversary appearance here. Haribol, Dandavat Pranams Maharaj.
Dandavat Shishara Prabhu, Haribol, Hare Krishna. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Dadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. and all the assembled Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, and any Tridandi sannyasis besides our beloved Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, my Dandavat pranams to you all. Hare Krishna. So yesterday we had a most beautiful day out in the field of Braj, in the beautiful greenery, because of the rainy season just being completed. And we visited Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, and Bahulavan. So this was very refreshing. And today we're going to, as Yashoda Prabhu just said, we're going to go on a very confidential, extremely rustic parikrama today. We're going to actually physically circumambulate Gopinath Bhavan. This is how we're going to do. So as we come out of the Gopinath Bhavan, to our immediate left is the north, and straight directly in front of us, you remember, is Jamuna Devi. And then across Jamuna, that's the eastern bank. And we remember the 5 forests as we come out of Gopinath Bhavan. We can remember these forests: Badravan, Bandiravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan. So these 5 forests we're remembering on the eastern side of the bank. And then yesterday we went to 4 great forests on the western bank. So there's just Kamyavan, Govardhan, and Kamudvan, Kadirvan to actually visit also, but we're going to go to many holy places in between. So if Manjalali would like to put that Vrindavan map on the screen so the devotees can orientate themselves just now. So this is a map of Vrindavan. And we can probably straight away, we can pick Jamuna, and maybe we can see Sevakunj there. Sevakunj, put the cursor on Sevakunj, Manjalali. Manjalali.
Yes, I'm here.
Sevakunj. Sevakunj?
Where is it here?
In the middle.
Yeah.
No. Yes, yes,
Here.
okay. Sevakunj. Okay. I think you're as orientated as many. So this is Sevakunj. And then we see number 1, I think, is going to be, where are we? Number 1? No. Imlital is number 6.
Yeah, here's Amrita.
So 6, Imlital 6. So just beside number 6 on the right-hand side is Gopinath Bhavan, approximately where number 7 is.
7, yes, 7 is Gopinath
Yes.
Bhavan.
So we're going to go to 6, then we're going to go to Sevakunj, that's number 5, and then we're going to come to Radha Damodar, which is probably number 8, just above Sevakunj, yes, number 8, and then we're going to come around to number 10. That'll be Sringaravat. So you can see we're actually physically going to circumambulate 7, which is Gopinath Bhavan today. And all of these places are tremendously confidential to Radha and Krishna's pastimes. But today we're going to begin by, thank you, Manjalali. We're going to begin by coming to Imlital. Imlital is an incredibly powerful place for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's the heart of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's where Krishna himself first demonstrated his golden hue, which ultimately manifests as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So perhaps, Manjalali, if you'd like to put that video on, we can all get an impression of where we're actually going, the actual physical place of Imlital. So you can begin that video. It's about 3 or 4 minutes long. We're very blessed, actually. This is was arranged on the spur of the moment by Janardhan Prabhu in America about 10 hours ago, and he did it in about 15, 20 minutes. So quite remarkable accomplishment. He patched together a couple of videos, and this gives us a very clear impression. And if you've been there before, of course, then it'll prompt your memory to familiarize yourself with it. Okay.
Govinda Radhe, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe Radhe Govinda,
So this is Imlital, and we are so blessed to hear the very sweet kirtan of my beloved Gurudev, taking us by the hand into this sacred place today. As Pujapat Nemi Maharaj was sharing with us yesterday, nothing can transpire of auspiciousness whatsoever without the mercy of Guru and our Guru Vargya. So we're always remembering him and carrying the dust from his lotus feet on our heads as we begin our parikrama today. So this is the fourth day of our parikrama, and we're now entering into Imlital. And as you saw in the video, there's a beautiful tree in the center. This is the principal focus. This is the object of worship of this most sacred place. And you see the tree is encased in some type of metal or aluminum or something. I'm not sure what it is. Huh?
Right, rather than
Somebody saying, Manorama? Need to move it up. Yes, so the original tree has actually left its body. And Srila Gurudev explains that the sapling that we see there, the young tree, is the same jiva as that other tree that left its body. So he explains like that. And this tree in the center of this beautiful ashram temple was the place where Krishna, when he left the Ras Leela, the Ras Leela was performed in Vamsivat. And Krishna, when he was dancing with all the other Sakis, billions of Sakis, he was manifesting himself for every single Saki. And my Gurudev explains how he didn't expand himself, but he went so quickly around between all the Sakis like lightning practically. And he describes it like if you have a piece of rope and you have the end glowing and you spin it around, you get a whole complete circle. So in this way, Krishna was dancing and touching and being with all the gopis practically simultaneously. And for a moment, only Sri Radhika was aware that Krishna was performing this unbelievable pastime. Radhika, of course, is the origin. She is Swarup Shakti. She's the origin of all the gopis. They're all her Kaya Vyuha. They're all manifesting from her. So when she perceives that Krishna is showing so much affection to all the other gopis, and simultaneously the other gopis are feeling so much shobhagya, so much pride about having Krishna dancing with them. So, of course, there's a whole build-up to this Rasa Leela pastime. We come through at the beginning of this 29th chapter. There's the beautiful Pranaya Geet, where the gopis have been called by Krishna's flute song. And they've come, they've responded, they've all rushed to Krishna. And then Krishna begins to instruct them in dharma, that why are they in the forest late at night? They should go back to their husbands. And the gopis at that time, they're so distraught. They're ready to give up their lives. They have the feeling that they are not actually sufficiently good enough or qualified enough to be with Krishna. They feel so morose. This is called the Pranaya Geet. And there's 10 beautiful verses where the gopis, they defeat Krishna. They explain that actually Krishna is their guru. So first they should honor Krishna as guru in Krishna's instructions on dharma, etc. So the gopis establish their affection, their unbounded affection to Krishna. And then this incredible Ras Leela begins. And as I was just describing, Krishna is simultaneously between each single gopi at the same time. But it's in sequence. There's two descriptions. Some acharyas, Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna expands like that. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that would break the mood of Nara Leela. Nara Leela means earthly pastimes. So my Gurudev describes, like I've just said, that Krishna is spinning around very fast. And Radhika, she understands there's many things happening here. There's many complexities in the equation to actually bring out the highest state of prem. This Madanakya Mahabhav, this is the highest pitch of prem that is to be experienced by all the gopis, my Gurudev describes, experience this stage of Mahabhav. And Radhika and many of the Priyanam Sakis, they experience Madanakya Mahabhav. So even higher. So these are details we can discuss. But at this point, Radhika, she becomes perturbed that Krishna is not offering her sufficient honor. She's actually not being honored sufficiently. This is taking away from the speciality of this Ras Leela. Shri Radhika must be honored above everybody else, above all the other gopis, to actually have complete success in the Ras Leela. So this pastime is playing out to produce just this result, where all the gopis will come together and honor Sri Radhika. This is the purpose of this pastime being performed, so that the highest pitch of prem can be achieved. So when Radhika is seeing Krishna like this, it appears that she is in man. At the same time, the gopis, it appears that their pride in having attained Krishna as their intimate consort during this Ras Leela, their pride also has to be purified. So all of these things are going on simultaneously. But the conclusion is that Radhika, she leaves the Ras Leela just after some time after it's begun. And the very moment she leaves, then Krishna also leaves. He follows her. Without Radhika in the Ras Mandal, Krishna has no attraction anymore. Radhika is the jewel that is holding everything together. So when she leaves, Krishna immediately follows her to pacify her man. And the gopis, of course, they become distraught. And we'll discuss that more at Sringaravat. Actually, today, dear devotees, we're going to be discussing this whole Rasa Leela practically for the whole next 2.5 hours, because the journey that we're taking today plays out around this Ras Leela. Everything is central to this Ras Leela pastime and the amazing dynamics that take place within it. So Radhika has left, and Krishna also leaves the Rasastali. And it's described that even the enormous amounts of prem that the gopis are feeling towards Krishna at this point cannot check him. Krishna is described like an elephant walking against the current. Only an elephant can walk strongly against an opposing stream. So Krishna is walking like an elephant away from the current of the other gopis' prem in order to find Srimati Radhika and pacify her. So this pastime, which we're principally also going to describe at Sringaravat, this is where Krishna, he meets Radhika and pacifies her man. So this will be described at Sringaravat. But when they're walking together through the forest after this, Radha and Krishna, then Radhika becomes aware that the other gopis are searching for them piteously. There's a very beautiful chapter, this chapter 30, where the gopis are described like demented mad women. They're in a stage called Divyan Mad. And they're the height of their separation from Krishna, because they've just experienced the sweetness of Krishna in the Ras Leela. And now Krishna has left them. So their separation, it's gone from one extreme to the other, is absolutely devastating for the gopis. So Radhika, when she's with Krishna, walking through after Krishna has pacified her man, they're separated from the other gopis. Then Krishna and Radhika, she realizes what's happening to the other gopis, and she actually wants the other gopis to catch up with them. She's missing her friends. So she says to Krishna, "Oh, I'm too tired to go any further." So Krishna says, "Oh, sit on my shoulder and I will carry you to another kunj." So as Radhika goes to sit on Krishna's shoulder, Krishna disappears completely. And Radhika, she falls piteously to the ground. Hey Nata Ramana Prishta Kvasi Kvasi Mahabhuja. She cries out in great lamentation. She's saying that, "Oh, my master, my beloved, my dearest one, where have you gone?" This is a very, very beautiful verse that actually Madhavendra Puripad, he also reflects this verse when he's leaving his body himself. he chants another verse very similar to this. Ayedina dayadrina tahe maturanath kadavalokite. So these two verses are invoking an appreciation of the extent of their separation. But when Krishna leaves Radhika, this is the point to come back to our subject of Imlital. When he leaves Radhika in this condition, then he comes to this Imli tree and he sits underneath the Imli tree and he's completely submerged in the deepest mood and thoughts of Sri Radhika to such a degree where his whole body takes on a golden complexion. So this is like the prelude, we can say, to Mahaprabhu, to Sachinandan Gaurahari, to Krishna taking the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come and taste the extreme separation mood, particularly this Vipralamba Bhav that Radhika is experiencing, as well as her the Milan, the Sambhog moods in Navadvip, Mahaprabhu. He experiences those moods there. So when Krishna is sitting overwhelmed in separation from Radhika, he takes on that golden hue. So it's at this place, Imlital, that we always glorify and celebrate Sachinandan Gaurahari. As we know, Mahaprabhu, he's non-different entirely to Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna pranaya vikritya kladini shakti asmat ekatmanav api bhuvideha bedam katoto chaitanyaikam prakatam aruna tadvayam chekamatam radha bhav drisavalitam nomi Krishna swarupam. So he takes on this mood of Sri Radhika, this Radha Bhav, in this place of Imlital. This is where the this mood is first initiated. It first manifests by Krishna after he's left Radhika, wandering through the forest there. So as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are completely under the guidance and direction entirely of Sachinandan Gaurahari. We are in his line, in his lineage. So to come to appreciate these pastimes is essential. This pastime particularly was revealed to Rai Ramananda, and it's described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj in the 8th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And within that chapter, the beautiful exchanges between Mahaprabhu and Krishna are really brought out for our contemplation and our appreciation of the speciality of the relationship between Radha and Krishna. Mahaprabhu Krishna has come to taste this special mood of Sri Radhika, which he cannot taste himself when he comes as Krishna. When Krishna manifests 5,000 years ago, Krishna is Raso Vaisa. He's tasting or he's receiving all the love and affection from all the residents of Vrindavan. It's described one analogy that Krishna is like the sugar, and all of the Brijvasis and all of the other personalities, they're all experiencing the sweetness and speciality and taste of the sugar. But the sugar itself, how will it experience a similar taste? Because it's described that the taster is actually experiencing a higher state of bliss than the actual object of taste, Krishna himself. So this is remarkable, and this is the very heart of our philosophy, to appreciate the nature and speciality of Sachinandan Gaurahari. He is Krishna as the sugar, as the sweetest personality, and all are experiencing his sweetness. But now Krishna himself wants to taste his own sweetness. How can he possibly do that? He takes the mood of his greatest devotee, that Ashraya, that person who is tasting the Vishaya. Krishna is the Vishaya, and all who are tasting him are called the Ashraya, and they are all tasting Krishna. So Krishna, he takes that intrinsic mood and complexion of Sri Radhika in order to taste that highest speciality of her love for him. This Sri Radha Pranaya Vikriti, Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanaiva Swadyena Buddha Madarima Kidrisho Amadia Sokyam Kasyam Mad Anubhavita Kidrisham Vidiloba Tadbhavadyas Samajani Satchigarvo Sindhu Harindu. That these three desires are in the heart of Krishna. He wants to experience the Mahima, the greatness of Radha's love. He wants to experience the beautiful qualities within himself, these madhurima, adbhuta, astonishing, beautiful qualities within himself. He wants to taste these. He's seen himself as a small boy in Gokul, is described, Krishna's Kaviraj describes, and he sees his reflection in a column, and he thinks this is the most beautiful boy I've ever seen in my life. And he wants to engage in an affectionate relationship with that boy, but then he realizes that this is a reflection of myself. How can I taste myself? He can taste himself through the moods of Sri Radhika, through the moods of that greatest devotee, that greatest personality who loves Krishna more than millions and billions of lives. So this is the nature of Sri Radhika's prem. And she experiences through that love for Krishna this highest state, which is called Madanakya Mahabhav. Now, Krishna, my Gurudev describes, doesn't experience this Madanakya Mahabhav. Madanakya Mahabhav is in two phases. There's Rudha and Adiruddha. And I won't become too technical here, but just very briefly, the extremity or intensity is described by the blazing attitudes or the blazing effects of when that prem touches the very elements of the body. Then it ignites such a powerful bhav that it is the pinnacle of relationship, the pinnacle of bhav, which is Madanakya Mahabhav. So that is when the principal elements of the body are impacted by the power of prem. And then they begin to blaze. So when 5 bhavs are blazing, this is called Rudha. And when 8 bhavs are blazing, this is called Adiruddha. So Krishna, he doesn't experience this himself. He experiences Mahabhav, but not these higher stages. So he wants to taste these higher stages that Sri Radhika experiences. So therefore, he wants to take that mood and speciality of Sri Radhika so that he can taste himself and experience the bliss at these highest aspects of prem, this Madanakya Mahabhav. So by taking that mood, then he's able to taste in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, particularly in the mood of separation in Puri. In Puri, he experiences this Vipralamba Bhav to such a degree where his body becomes transformed unbelievably, like a tortoise. All his limbs become drawn into his body. And he falls down amongst the cows at the Singadvaha gate. And then his body becomes completely elongated when he falls into the ocean in prem. So these are exhibitions of these sattvika bhavs, when these emotions are impacting the very core of the existence in the body. These material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, are being impacted by the intensity of prem to produce these phenomenal exhibitions. In Puri, it's described as Aishwarya Bhav, because Mahaprabhu, he exhibits these extraordinary manifestations from his body. They're not Naralila, they're not ordinary manifestations that an ordinary person can demonstrate. They're from completely the apricot realm. They're not from this world. Therefore, Puri Dham itself is known as Aishwarya Dham, it's Vipralamba Dham. So Krishna, he's sitting in Imlital and he's going into that golden complexion, and that golden complexion is the form eventually of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 5,000 years later, when Mahaprabhu comes. When Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, nobody could really understand extensively the relationships that Krishna was engaged in Vrindavan with all the gopis. This wasn't really opened out to practically anyone. Perhaps a few Siddha Purushas understood the extent of Krishna's relationship with the gopis in Vrindavan, but it was very much covered. But when Mahaprabhu comes with his extraordinary karunamayi, with his extraordinary mercy, he opens out the reality of Krishna's pastimes. And he even shows us the nature of Parakiya Bhav, as opposed to Swakiya Bhav, the marital relationship. Only Mahaprabhu can introduce this to the Vaishnava's understanding of Parakiya Bhav. This is extremely confidential. Everything that I've said for the last 15 or so minutes is all extremely confidential, which is like this particular place of Imlital where we are sitting. So perhaps we can begin to get some sort of impression of the sacred nature, the speciality of this holy place of Imlital. So when we're in Imlital, we often chant this very beautiful verse that our beloved Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he chanted, Radha Chinta Niveshanam Yasya Shanti Vilopina, Shri Krishna Charanam Brande, Radha Lingitam Vigraham. And this is saying that the form of Krishna takes on a golden complexion. And this is why Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he places the white Krishna in all of his temples. So it's coming from this pastime at Imlital. This is like the root of the pastimes to bring out the extraordinary flavor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I've tried to pack many things into a very short amount of time. And probably I've left quite a few ends just hanging there, but we can go over later. But I just wanted to basically throw everything out, and those who are familiar with these topics will be able to string them together. And if anyone wants to ask anything in particular, if we have time at the end, I'm very happy to go over this. Or if even Yashoda now has a question.
Yeah, I have a couple of, that's beautiful, astounding Katar Maharaj. I have a couple of quick questions. You said in the Pranaya Gita where the gopis say Krishna, he's guru, then there's the Ras Leela where Krishna doesn't expand, rather he's with every gopi at the speed of light. You said it has to be that way, or is explained that way, because otherwise it would break the Nara Leela. Why would that break the Nara Leela?
If Krishna expands, then into many, many forms, that's not human-like pastime. That would not be a human-like pastime.
But if he's going at the speed of light, that's not human either.
But that can be called, still termed. I mean,
someone whose point of view, it's like.
No, but if you're really fired up, you can actually probably just speed around at the speed of light, in some exceptional circumstances. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's not actually expanding. It's like lifting Govardhan Hill is still not considered Aishwarya because the gopis are not considering that he's lifting it. And simultaneously, what you've just said is correct, that the gopis are not considering that he's actually expanded. They're considering that he's right there with them. And he is right there with them. That's the truth. Yeah. That's why they're realizing it.
So when the gopis are, you describe them as in like a demented mood when they're looking for Radha and Krishna. What was that mood called? I couldn't hear.
Divyon Mad.
Oh,
Divyon Mad. And they're asking the trees, they're asking the bushes, they're asking the deer, they're asking so many of the forest personalities, where did Krishna go? I want to describe this particular aspect more at Sringaravat, because Sringaravat and Imlital are integrally connected, because Sringaravat is where Krishna catches up with Radhika and decorates her and pacifies her man, And then it's after Sringaravat that Krishna comes to Imlital, where we are now. So we have to piece the whole picture together. So they're very much related, Imlital and Sringaravat. That's why we go to them both in the same day.
In the really intense pastime where Radha says, I'm tired, and then Krishna offers her his shoulder and then he leaves, you said there were two great verses from, and I couldn't catch the Acharya's name.
The first verse is from Shukadev Goswami in the 30th chapter, and it's the 39th verse. Hey Nata Ramana Prishta Kwasi Kwasi Mahabhuja Dasyaste Kripanayame Saki Darshaya Sanidim. She's crying out, "O Master, O beloved, O dearest one, where are you? You've left your poor servant here. I'm so bewildered now. What shall I do? What shall I do?" And Madhavendra Puripad, he is remembering this very pastime when he's leaving his body. Madhavendra Puripad, we understand, is the Prem Ankur. He's the initiator of Bhav in this world. He demonstrates, he's the first personality to demonstrate the nature of Bhav in this world. So he chants another beautiful verse similar to that. Ai dina dayadrina tahe, maturanath karabalokyate. Hridayam tvad aloka kataram, daita brahmyate kim karamyaham. That what shall I do this? Kim karamyaham. That ai dina dayadrina tahe, oh my master, again, you've left me. A mood of this intense separation. So this mood of separation is really what Mahaprabhu has come principally in his pastime to demonstrate, even though he does demonstrate meeting in Navadvip. But the main body, when after the age of 24 until he's 48 years old, he's practically in a mood of Vipralamba the whole time. And it's from this point that we are taking so many lessons as sadhaks, how to deeply immerse ourselves in these pastimes, etc., and to realize the nature, something of the nature of this separation mood. All of the pastimes between Radha and Krishna, they pivot between meeting and separation, meeting and separation. We discussed this in another occasion, I think, on the Zoom. We went through this dynamic of meeting and separation.
So that was chapter 30. That was chapter 30, which was?
39.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you, Maharaj. And final question. Which chapter of Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita was the pastime revealed by Roy Ramananda?
That's Madhya 8.
Madhya 8.
Madhya Lila chapter 8. Actually, you've got a picture there, or Manjalali has a beautiful picture, please, of Rai Ramananda being shown the form of Radha and Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the middle. Manjalali, can you please put that on the screen now?
Yes, I'm there. I'm putting it up, one sec.
I think pictures, they tell thousands of words, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has said.
And videos, thousands of pictures.
Yes, yes, true. But this is just...
Can you see it?
Yes, thank you. So you see this beautiful picture?
Wow.
This is Mahaprabhu. He's speaking with Rai Ramananda. And Rai Ramananda is who? Vishaka. And Vishaka, who is born at exactly the same moment as Radhika, is such a confidential personality. So Mahaprabhu, actually Vishaka can see with his own vision that this is not just a sannyasi, this is actually Krishna directly, but it's Krishna covered with a golden complexion. This is how he's describing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu understands, he actually can see with his pure apricot vision, my real identity. So then he manifests this form at the Godavari in their conversation there. And this is the only time in Mahaprabhu's pastimes that he actually manifests like this. It's never any other time. So this we are remembering in Imlital, because in Imlital we remember greatly this, the whole nature of Mahaprabhu, why he advented to Prem Ras Niryase Korite Ashvadan Rag Mag Bhakti Loki Karite Prachan, to taste his own prem, and that prem is in the form of Madanakya Mahabhav, which I've touched on a little bit, and also to give Rag Mag to the world, Rag Mag Bhakti Loki, give service to that prem. So this is the nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how are we doing for time, Yashoda?
Final question, Maharaj. Where's that special verse from Param Gurudev? Where do we find that?
That's in the songbook on the, what's it called? Radha Bihari Tattva Astakam. I'll tell you in just a second. What is the 272?
Just the first three words, so we can look it up in the
Radha Chinta Niveshanam.
Radha Chinta
Niveshanam. The Radha Vinod Bihari Tattvastikam, and it's on page 272. And the translation of that, I worship the lotus feet of that form of Sri Krishna, who by being absorbed in anxious thought of Srimati Radharani has assumed her golden feature. So this is basically what we've spoken about at Imlital. I've tried to unpack something. It's very complex. As I said, I've tried to make it as simple as possible, but I want to share with the devotees the depth with which our Gurudev has shared all these pastimes with us over the years. Without our Gurudev's explanations and hearing from him directly, we could not even begin to appreciate the speciality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And particularly, this is brought out in this particular holy place of Imlital. So I think I've just about run to the end of my time here, about an hour.
Amazing.
Is that right?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The standout, that was astounding Qatar. The standout line for me, it just created such an impression in my mind, was when Krishna leaves the Rasa Leela, even though the gopis have so much prem, we can't imagine these billions of gopis, that only Krishna, like an elephant, could be walking, would have the power of heart to be able to walk against the current of the gopis praying to find Radha.
That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal.
It's amazing. It's so mind-boggling.
Yes. So much affection pouring towards him, and yet he leaves it all behind for the love that he has for Radhika. Without Radhika.
Is that a Gurudev? Did Gurudev say that, or that?
Yes. Srila Gurudev has said like that. Yes. Like an elephant striding against the tide. And this accentuates the speciality of Radhika, of course. All of these pastimes, Mahaprabhu himself. Why has Krishna come with the mood of Radhika except to push Sri Radhika into the forefront of our consciousnesses? Everything that Mahaprabhu is actually giving is focused on Sri Radhika and the immensity of her praying for Krishna. So this is something. So I'll leave it there for now, and we'll carry on this same vein, because there's a lot of details that we can describe in Shringaravat around this pastime that just enhance the whole experience. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to say something here today at Imlital. And now we're going to go to Sevakunj, which is about 200 yards up the road, and to the beautiful forest there. This is the one of the yog pits, 3 main yog pits, meeting places. There's Guptakund, Radhakund, and Sevakunj. So our beloved Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj is going to describe the pastimes in Sevakunj, as well as Radha Damodar, which is just another few hundred yards around the corner. And then we will come back to Shringaravat, and then I'll meet you all again there. Dandavat Prabhu. Okay.
Big welcome to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj, who is like, you're like 2 flutes for Srila Gurudev, sharing this wondrous Harikatha. So Maharaji, I think hopefully you're there. We'll hand over the Vyasa Sun to you. Dandavats Nemi Maharaj? No. Can you see him, Margie? What should I call him?
No. Yes, he's there.
He's there?
He's muted. He's muted. He's there,
Oh.
but he's muted.
Let me,
I can see his beautiful face. Yes, there he is.
there he is. Fantastic.
Gyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Iti Namane Vancha Kalpatarubheshta Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Putitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Of my humble obeisances, notice feet to my beloved Diksha Guru, Nityalila Vishta Shishima Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shira Prabhupada. Lotus feet to my beloved Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Rupa Nugavada Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Gurudev. Lotus feet to my beloved Shiksha Guru, Shri Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. All our Rupa Anuga Guru Varga offer obeisances to all devotees present and watching, headed by our Chidandigan, Pujapad Shri Chidandi Maharaj, all senior devotees, Hare Krishna. So today, I'll attempt to speak something about Seva Kunj and Shri Radha Damodar Temple. And this is such dense subject matter, incredibly dense subject matter. So just pray at Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet that we can get a taste, a reflection, a spark, a drop of their moods, transcendental moods of Vrindavan. This Braj Bhav, there were many, our acharyas before Srimad Madhavendra Puripad, they had Bhav and Prem. But Srimad Madhavendra Puripad, he was the first one who actually manifested Braj Bhav, the mood of Braj. Spontaneous, not spontaneous bhakti exactly. It's the spontaneous attraction of the soul to Krishna. And then this he gave to Sri Ishwara Puripad, and Ishwara Puripad was the disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he has manifested this through his followers especially. He himself manifested Braj Bhav, but the special Bhav for which we aspire, the mood of serving Srimati Radhika in her beautiful pastimes with Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he distributed that through his followers, especially the 6 Goswamis. So today, especially in Radha Damodar Temple, so we'll be talking about Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami. But first, Seva Kunj. Seva means service. So the essence of our philosophy, the essence of our practice is Seva. We're trying to attain service. Service may not have a very good taste in our hearts and our minds, because with service means you're doing something for someone else. But actually service means pleasing somebody. And unfortunately, in modern society, we've been brainwashed with an enjoying mentality. taking rather than giving. But actually, the soul wakes up when we give. It's more blessed to give than to receive. So it's the nature of the soul to serve, actually. So pleasing, and just like when we're putting on tilak, using a mirror. So you don't have to put tilak on the reflection in the mirror. Automatically, if you put tilak on your own face, then automatically in the mirror, tilak on the reflection. So we're like reflection of Krishna, Radha Krishna. So when we please Krishna, then automatically we ourselves become pleased. And this is the original blissful condition of the soul. So Seva Kunj is very special. It's a place of service. But what kind of service? It's a service of Shri Krishna to Srimati Radhika. And this mood, this is a special mood of our acharyas. In general, so we know there's Tattva Vichar and Ras Vichar. Means there's a consideration of philosophy and there's a consideration of love. So according to philosophy, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur manifested this description of Sri Radha Krishna. He said, Krishna is the dominating moiety. Extraordinary word. It means he's the dominating half of this eternal personality, Radha Krishna. And Srimati Radhika is the dominated moiety. He's explained like this. So this is true from the point of view of Tattva Vichar, that Krishna, Radha, Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shakti Ma. Srimati Radhika is the full energy, and Krishna, he's the full owner of the energy, the possessor of the energy. So Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti. Sometimes described that Radha and Krishna Pranaya Vikriti. This is a transformation of Pranay. But the other translation is Radha Krishna Pranaya. So Radha is manifested from Krishna's Vikriti, transformation of Krishna's love. And Srila Gurudev has described how in one pastime she appears from Krishna's left side at Keshighat, and Shivji from the right-hand side, Gopishra Mahadev. This is Tattva Vichar. Ras Vichar, love. So who is more precious? The lover or the beloved? The person who loves or the person who is loved? So we worship not the beloved so much as love, the embodiment of love, Srimati Radhika. So Srimati Radhika, by Tattva Vichar, she is the dominated moiety. But by Ras Vichar, from the point of view of love, Srimati Radhika dominates. Krishna is drowning in the high waves of the praying, not only of Srimati Radhika, but all the gopis, and especially Srimati Radhika, which Tridani Maharaj has been talking about Madnaki Mahabhav. This is the speciality of Srimati Radhika. Nobody else has it, and Krishna is fascinated, and he wants it. So therefore, he is dominated. She dominates. Krishna's like a rabbit. You know, when the snake hypnotizes a rabbit, so Krishna's like helpless in her love and fascinated. So this is Srila Gurudev's heart. Our acharya is like this, and Srila Gurudev unashamedly manifested this mood. When I was staying in Mathura, so I became a little familiar with the temple, and on the top, you know, there's a dome like in all the temples, so that you can't stand right on top of the deities. And in that dome, there's a picture of Radha and Krishna together. The word that comes to mind, a little primitive, Seva Kunj picture. And Srila Gurudev manifested the most beautiful version of that through Shamarani Devi. So she's so fortunate that Krishna painted this picture. Srila Gurudev painted this picture through Shamarani Devi. And that's in the Seva Kunj altar in Rup Sanatan Mandir. Krishna has put his flute at Srimati Radhika's lotus feet, and he's making advances to her, and she's putting a veil up, but her eyes are towards Krishna. She's crying and he's crying. And underneath, Srila Gurudev has put this verse by Srila Jayadev Goswami. Smaragara lakandanam mama shirasi mandanam dehi padapallavam mudaram. Jayadev Goswami is seeing in Samadhi, he's seeing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And then he sees that Krishna is offering obeisances at Radha's lotus feet, praying to her. He thinks, oh, this can't be. Because Sri Jayadev Goswami, such an extraordinary Vaishnava and such an extraordinary poet, but still, he's worshipping in the mood of awe and reverence. So the idea that Krishna, Srimati Radhika is the best devotee of Krishna from his point of view. So how could Krishna bow to Srimati Radharani? So he went to take bath. And then Krishna, in the form of Jayadev Goswami, came in and told Padmavati, give me the book. And then he completed the verse and left. And then Jayadev Goswami came back and he read this verse where Krishna himself had written, and he could understand that actually Krishna was affirming this mood. This is a beautiful mood of Krishna, and Krishna's affirming that. So this is a Seva Kunj mood that Krishna is offering service to Srimati Radhika. Srimati Radhika has 8 Sakhis. Lalita Vishaka, Champakalatha, Induleka, Rangadevi, Devi, Tungavidya, Chitra. So each of these 8 Sakhis is a manifestation of one of the moods of the heroine. And Srimati Radhika is, so it starts with Abhisarika, going off to meet the hero. And then there's so many moods in between. Sometimes Krishna jilts Srimati Radhika. Sometimes the heroine is waiting for him in agitation. Sometimes she becomes angry, Kandita. Sometimes she becomes angry when the hero turns up, Krishna turns up with late and signs of having been with another Sakhi. And then Sudur Pravas, when there's very serious separation. And the last one, Sadina Varjika. So after all these adventures of love, finally, hero and heroine are together, and the hero is submissive. Sadina Varjika. Heroine is subduing the hero. And this is the home mood. This is Srimati Radhika's home mood. After everything, man and everything, finally. And one of the most beautiful manifestations of that is in Shringarvat that Pujpat Tridani Maharaj described. There's a beautiful picture there of Krishna combing Srimati Radhika's hair. This is Keshav. He's combing Srimati Radhika's hair. Srimati Radhika is looking in the mirror and seeing herself and seeing Krishna. And she's so happy. And Krishna's also so happy. He wants to serve her. Krishna wants to serve Srimati Radhika. But sometimes he has to manifest extraordinary adventures in order to get to that place. So Seva Kunj is that kind of a place. It's very, very deep mood, very sacred mood, very confidential mood. Mostly, even if people can understand that, Krishna is a supreme personality of God, then they take the Srimati Radhika as the greatest devotee. And we see in this picture, Krishna is standing on the lotus and Srimati Radhika is kneeling by him and offering flowers at his lotus feet, which is beautiful. But in the Seva Kunj picture, Krishna's praying, he's offering his flute at Srimati Radhika's lotus feet. All these moods are there. So beautiful. So Seva Kunj, it's not very far from Rup Sanatan Mandir. Just a few minutes just down the path. Walled in. Now it's got barbed wire. And inside of the gate, we come to the gate. My Guru Maharaj went there and he was with devotees and he hesitated. He said, I'm not qualified to come in here. Anyway, we go boldly in and we'll see monkeys and we'll see trees. These are sages actually, bending over in the mood of separation, deep separation. So they've fenced part of it. They fenced the paths in to protect us from the monkeys or to protect the monkeys from the pilgrims, whichever way around. And in the middle, there's the most beautiful little temple, exquisite, tiny altar, Radha and Krishna, not deities, but Shilas. Very, very beautiful, and very beautiful paintings on the roof of the altar, of the temple. Srimati Radhika sitting on the throne, and Krishna's coming up, and she's holding him off. Man, this is Braj mood. I've been there once or twice for their Mangalarti. It's so extraordinary. It's not like our singing at all. They're all singing. There are no drums, no mridangas, no kartals, anything. But they're all singing together. It's absolutely astounding. Beautiful. Early in the morning there. So it's such a special place. Radha and Krishna are actually there at night. At night time, everybody has to leave. Even at night time, they said that all the monkeys leave as well. Occasionally, people have stayed there overnight. They want to see what's happening at night. In the morning, they're either dead or mad. So the pujaris, they leave articles out for Radha and Krishna to use at night, and in the morning they're all scattered every morning, and then they're distributed as Mahaprasad. So it's a very confidential place, very confidential place. Same thing as in Nidhuvan. We'll go to Nidhuvan later on, not today, another day. Same thing there as well. They put out articles for the loving pair, and in the morning they've been used, they're scattered. So it's extraordinary that we have access to such very, very confidential sacred places. A few yards from this temple, there's Lalita Kund. So Lalita Kund, on one occasion, gopis are there, Lalita's there. She Lalita Devi, she was thirsty. So Krishna, with his flute, as usual, he made a kund so that she could drink. This kund is very deep. I mean, when I say deep, you have to go down a long way. You can't go down because it's barred off. But you have to go down a long way, many, many, many steps to get down Lalita Kund. And then coming out, offering obeisances to Seva Kunj, offering obeisances to the sacred, secret, confidential moods. And then going down, continuing, coming out of Seva Kunj, turning right, going down the gully, and then at the end of the gully, turning left, and we come to Radha Damodar Mandir. So this is...
Maharaj, did you want me to show any pictures of Seva Kunj before you leave?
Oh yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah,
I get switched off. Yeah.
Just bear with me, I may be a bit slow. Okay, so probably best to, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there a gate for Seva Kunj? Okay, I'll show the overview first, Maharaj, and leave you to do the explanation. Okay, there you go.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, they're all the sages you were saying, the trees, yeah.
That's taken from the temple, it seems.
Yeah, can you just explain again in geographical terms where Lalit Kund is?
It's near the entrance.
But it's outside, yeah?
No, not outside. It's in
Okay.
Saber Point. Oh no, here, actually, this is taken from the entrance and that kind of covered pathway snaking over. And then there's a small temple over in the middle background. And
I think just to the extreme right.
yeah,
Behind
yes,
that-
yes, yes.
Behind that
You
large
can just see
temple,
Lalit
just down,
Kund, yeah, on the far right.
Okay.
down from there.
Shall I move
Yeah.
on, Marge?
Okay, move on.
Here's a beautiful. I think there's only
Now you want
two-
the entrance to Radha Damodar, you showed up.
There's another Saber
That's
Kund.
that's Emily Toe.
The Saber Kunj.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, that's the mood.
that's amazing. What can you say?
This is Kunj.
And do you want me to show you Radha Damodar at the end or the beginning now?
Do it now. Otherwise I forget.
Okay.
So this is the altar. This is the altar of Radha Damodar temple. And there's so many deities. I don't know, 3 or 4 pairs of deities there. And in the middle, there's Radha Damodar with Lalita. Lalita Devi. You can't see really. Then, do you have any other pictures there, Yashoda?
And if you stand looking at the altar and then walk backwards on your right at Prabhupada's rooms. Oh, sorry, I showed it in the wrong order. Here's the entrance.
Oh yeah, okay. That's the entrance to the temple.
Yeah.
Garland set at the front.
That's it, I'm afraid.
That's it. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're in Damodar, month of Damodar, and celebrating Damodar, Udar. Udar means belly. Damodar means binding. So in the month of Damodar, we're celebrating the pastime where Shrimati Yashoda Devi bound Gopal, Bal Gopal, Krishna, to the grinding mortar. But there's another Damodar pastime. But at the end of when we're singing Damodar Ashtakam, then we sing Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. So there's another Damodar pastime where Shrimati Radhika bound Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami. As far as I remember, it's in Shri Kartik Mahatmya. So Rupa Goswami describes the pastime where Shrimati Radhika bound Krishna. And then he's begging her, please let me go. I have to go off to a festival. So not only Yashoda Devi is capable of binding Krishna, but Shrimati Radhika also. So the primary deities here, we used to come with Srila Gurudev to Radha Damodar temple, first day of Damodar Master, first day of Kartik. And Srila Gurudev every day before he gave Harikatha. So at the end, he would recite this verse, Angasyamalabhir, Angasyamalachatchitabhirabhito mandi kritendi varam, Jajang jagadarochi samvidhatatam pattam varasra shriya, Brindaranya vilasinam hridilasad, Dama viramodaram, Radha skanda niveshito chalabhujam, Jayema damodaram. His dark bodily luster eclipses a blue lotus. His brilliant yellow garments rebuke the radiance of golden kumkum. He revels in pastimes within Sri Vrindavan. His chest is beautified by a splendid Vaijayanti garland, and his splendorous left hand rests upon the shoulder of Sri Radha. I meditate upon that Sri Damodar. So Srila Gurudev used to recite that verse before giving Harikatha. The original Radha Damodar deities were manifested by Srila Rupa Goswami for Jiva Goswami. Rupa Goswami lived here, and Jiva Goswami also lived here, and Rupa Goswami manifested these deities. Then later on, after they left, so I've forgotten the name of the Muslim, very, very envious of Vaishnavas and Hindus. So he came to destroy the temples in Vrindavan. And Rajman Singh came from Jaipur with his army, and they took the main deities, all the deities, and took them to Jaipur. On the way, Shri Brinda Devi said that. Can you move that? Yeah. So on the way to Jaipur, Shri Brinda Devi said, I'm not leaving Vrindavan. So they established her deity in Kamivan. So here in Radha Damodar, there's so much to speak about, so much to express. There's Srila Jiva Goswami's Samadhi, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami's Samadhi, other Samadhis are there, and then Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi, Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, and the rooms of my Guru Maharaj, where he lived while he was in Vrindavan. So it's a very, very, very deep place. My Guru Maharaj said it's the most sacred place in the universe, because the 6 Goswamis used to assemble here, and they would exchange Harikatha. It's described sometimes. Sri Gopal Bhatt, no, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, he could sing like very, very beautifully, and he could recite any verse from Srimad Bhagavatam in with many different melodies. And on one occasion, so he was reciting Bhagavatam, and all the Goswamis, they were manifesting ecstatic symptoms, except Rupa Goswami, was just quite motionless, not manifesting symptoms. But actually, he was so deep, somebody held cotton under his nose, and the cotton caught fire. This pastime we've heard. So, yeah, this is like the center of the universe from one point of view. So when we enter, having offered obeisances to Radha Damodar, and there's also footprint here. When Sri Sanatana Goswami was aging, Krishna himself appeared to him and said, look, you're performing this huge parikrama of Govardhan, but you're too old to do this comfortably now. So Sanatana Goswami said, anyway, I've made a vow. So Krishna manifested this stone, Shila, with his footprint and mark of his flute and the footprint of a cow also. And he said, you circumambulate this footprint 4 times, and that would be like circumambulating Giriraj Govardhan. So that's also on the altar there, specially covered up. And Radha Damodar, there's Lalita on Krishna's right-hand side, and other deities there. So offering obeisances there. Then there's a parikrama path that goes behind the altar on the left-hand side. So going through there first, immediately there's a little passage. And at the end of that passage, so there's Srila Jiva Goswami Samadhi. There's a very nice murti there now. So Srila Jiva Goswami, he's, I don't know, Diksha disciple, anyway, Shiksha disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami. He's actually the son of Rupa Goswami's brother, Anupam. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Ramkeli, which is actually where Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Anupam, well, they were living. So then they offered baby Jeev of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that was the one time when Jiva Goswami actually met with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they abandoned their duties for the Navaprasad Shah, Anupam also, but soon after that, Anupam, Jiva's father, passed away. And Jiva Goswami was so distraught, so he left home and he went to Navadvip. And in Navadvip, when he arrived in Navadvip, Sri Nityananda Prabhu was there. And he came especially to Mayapur to meet with Jiva Goswami. And then they performed Gaudamanda Parikrama. And this is described, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was described in Sri Navadvip Mahatmya, Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. We used to read from this book on Gaudamanda Parikrama with Srila Gurudev. At the end of that parikrama, Jiva Goswami, of course, he wanted to remain there. But Nityananda Prabhu said, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed that you should go to Vrindavan and be with Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. So reluctantly, Sri Jiva Goswami, he left. And right at the end of this literature, it said that as he crossed over the boundary of Navadvip, so Vrindavan Dham and Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, they manifested in his heart. And he proceeded gladly to Vrindavan, and there he met with his beloved, uncles, but his spiritual mentors. So Jiva Goswami especially, he lived with Rupa Goswami, and he edited Sri Rupa Goswami's books. Gurudev said, of course, there's no need to edit, but anyway, he was going through them. So he was completely conversant, totally conversant with, especially with the philosophy and teachings and ras writings of Srila Rupa Goswami. On one occasion, one senior Vaishnava, maybe Ballabhacharya, came to visit. There are two stories we've heard, actually. One is that he came to visit, one Vaishnava came to visit, and he asked Srila Rupa Goswami, this says Vallabhacharya, he asked Rupa Goswami what he's writing. Rupa Goswami is writing Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Vallabhacharya says, I'll have a look, I'll edit it. So he looked at it and he said, oh, this verse is not good. Bhukti Mukti Spriha. He's saying that it says that if the witches for the desire of liberation and sense gratification are within the heart, then Krishna can't manifest in that heart. So Vallabhacharya challenged that verse. He said, liberation is not a witch. There are many great souls trying for liberation. You can't say that liberation is a witch. After that, he went for his bath, and Jiva Goswami said, Jiva was there. So he said, I'll come with you and I'll carry your lota. So on the way, he began explaining to Vallabhacharya. Now he's a young boy, and Vallabhacharya is very senior Vaishnava, very senior, and very distinguished also. He'd been given Maha Abhishek by many exalted Vaishnavas. So Jiva Goswami, this young boy, starts explaining that actually, my Guru Maharaj did not say that liberation is a witch. He said the desire for liberation is a witch. So when Vallabhacharya, he came back to Rupa Goswami, he said, who's this young man? And Rupa Goswami said, why? What happened? And Vallabhacharya related that. So afterwards, Rupa Goswami told Jiva Goswami, you can't stay here. You're not qualified. You should have tolerated. He's my elder. He's very distinguished. You should tolerate. And Jiva Goswami was forced to leave. So to cut a long story short, Sanatana Goswami found Jiva emaciated, fasting, crying. And Sanatana Goswami came back to Rupa Goswami. He hid Jiva Goswami somewhere outside. And then he came to Rupa Goswami. He said, Rupa, what is our mercy to the Jivas? And Rupa said, oh, mercy, we have to show mercy to the jivas. So Sanatana Goswami said, well, here's one jiva that you have to show mercy to. Sanatana Goswami is Sri Rupa Goswami's elder brother. So he accepted Jiva back. Jiva was sitting on his lap. They're both crying and crying. And then Rupa Goswami nursed him back to good health, and they were continuing. After the passing of, after Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, other Goswamis, they passed away. Not all. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, they remained. After Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatt, they left. So then Jiva Goswami, now very mature, he became the leader of the Vaishnavas in Braj Mandal. To substantiate his beloved teachers, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and the other Goswamis, he wrote Shat Sandarbha, 6 Sandarbhas. And here he's establishing systematically, he's establishing the whole Vaishnava conclusions. Tattva Sandarbha first, where he establishes that Srimad Bhagavatam is the most authoritative source of evidence. So Tattva Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, Priti Sandarbha, I've mispronounced. So he wrote the 6 Sandarbhas to substantiate, because Rupa and Sanatana, the Goswamis, they were introducing something very, very revolutionary. Manjari Bhav and Braj Bhav. This is unprecedented. Before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, poets like, for example, Sri Jayadev Goswami, Vidyapati, Chandidas, they'd written about prem, but nobody had described prem ras. So Rupa Goswami especially, he is like Rasacharya, and he described prem ras means that all the ingredients of prem, all the ingredients of ras meeting together in a very delicious, transcendently delicious mixture. I can't imagine, but I've heard a little. So we have Sthai Bhav mixed with the Vibhav, which is a stimulus, and those who taste Bhav. And then there's Anubhavs, Ashtasattvic Bhavs that Pujabhat Sridhar Maharaj has spoken about. Anubhavs also, they're ecstatic symptoms, but they're somewhat more deliberate than the Ashtasattvic Bhavs. And then Sanchari Bhavs. These 5 ingredients all come together. So this is Prem Ras. And Srila Rupa Goswami, he's established a systematic account of Prem Ras, and all in poetry. Every step, everywhere. I'm not saying he's not writing in prose, but his all of the points he's establishing. He's the most astounding poet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said that his handwriting is like rows of pearls. And it's said that beside the poetry of Rupa Goswami, all other poetry tastes a little bitter. No, I'm moving on. Okay, so Srila Jiva Goswami's Samadhi is there. And then next to his Samadhi is, I suppose it must be Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who's the exalted author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Fascinating, beautiful biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Goes deeper into Ras even than Srimad Bhagavatam. And then proceeding on, opposite Srila Jiva Goswami's Samadhi, there's Pushpa Samadhi of our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and also Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj. Their Pushpa Samadhis are there. Then moving on round the Parikrama Marg, so 2 rows down, there's a Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Saraswati Prabhupada. And my Guru Maharaj, when he was living at Radha Damodar temple, he used to come and offer flowers at this Pushpa Samadhi every day after his spiritual master obviously passed away. Preparing to go to the west. So one day he came, he offered flowers at the Pushpa Samadhi, bowed down. When he got up, there was Saraswati Prabhupada. And Saraswati Prabhupada said, "What are you doing here? Why haven't you gone to the west? We've made all arrangements. They're waiting for you." So after that, my Guru Maharaj, he made arrangements very, very quickly. And then he left to go to the west. Then proceeding on, continuing on the Parikrama Marg, on the right-hand side, there's Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. And then going up the slope, on the left-hand side, there's a well that Srila Jiva Goswami used to use, collecting water. On the right-hand side, there's Tulsi. And then coming down the slope again, we come into the courtyard. And there are the Samadhis of Srila Rupa, Samadhi and Bhajan Kuti of Srila Rupa Goswami. Most wonderful place. So on the wall of the Bhajan Kutir, there's a verse by Krishna Kavi Karnapur. Priyasvarupe, Dayatasvarupe, Premasvarupe, Sahajabhirupe, Nijanurupe, Prabhureka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Savilasarupe. Indeed, Srila Rupa Goswami, whose dear friend was Swarup Damodar, was the exact replica of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was very, very dear to the Lord. Dayatasvarupe. Being the embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, Rupa Goswami was naturally very beautiful. Premasvarupe Sahajapi Rupe. He very carefully followed the principles enunciated by the Lord, Nijanu Rupe, and he was a competent person to explain properly the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expanded his mercy to Srila Rupa Goswami just so that he could render service by writing transcendental literatures. So that we pray, Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitan Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Sapadantikam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he Mano Bhishtam. Srila Rupa Goswami, he fulfilled the Mano Bhishtam, he fulfilled the heart's desire of Lord Chaitanya. So this is actually our goal. Our goal is to understand the inner desire of our Guru Varga and to fulfill that desire as much as we can. And my Guru Maharaj, he, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, when he's describing Sri Rupa Goswami, after seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Rath Yatra, singing in front of Jagannath, singing apparently a mundane, it was a mundane love song. It wasn't mundane when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sang it, but it's a song from Sri Darpan Sangita, glorifying unmarried love. Heroine saying, "Oh, I'm with my husband now, we're married." It's boring. I remember when we were meeting before, secretly, not allowed, forbidden. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing this in front of Jagannath. Nobody could understand what was his mood, except Swarup Damodar Goswami. He didn't tell anybody. But Srila Rupa Goswami, when he heard, he manifested his own shloka, describing the mood of Srimati Radhika when she met with Krishna at Kurukshetra. And when Rupa Goswami read that verse, he was astounded. He was in ecstasy. And he showed the verse to Swarup Damodar. And he said, how could Rupa Goswami, how could this Rup have understood my mind? Because Rup's just a new boy, quote unquote, new boy, already deeply rustic. And Sarabnamada Goswami said, you must have empowered him, otherwise it's not possible. So in the purports, my Guru Maharaj relates how he also wrote a poem for his Guru Maharaj, in which one verse, absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast removed. So he's pointing to the mission of, part of the mission of Saraswati Prabhupada, to eliminate or to defeat Mayavad and impersonalism. And in the commentary, my Guru Maharaj says, so how could I have understood the heart of our Guru Maharaj? It means we have to be empowered. When we have this desire to fulfill the heart's desire by Guru Varga, then all blessings are there. There's one letter from Srila Gurudev. He says, this service is Manabhishta Seva. All the wealth of our acharyas is contained in this service. So it's very fortunate if somehow or other we can do this. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was fulfilling Manabhishta of such a personality as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how fortunate. It's said that Rupa Goswami had full access to the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His poetry is unparalleled. There was during his his disappearance pastime. So one or two devotees, they were expounding from one particular, his prayers, and the inner structure, I mean, even geometrical structure of his poetry, and the sound format, the alliteration, and the deep sentiments of his poetry is superhuman, completely superhuman. So his Bhajan Kuti is there, and there's a beautiful picture of Srila Rupa Goswami in his kopi, and he's leaning forward and like very earnestly, long face, not round face. And then opposite that is his Samadhi, and they have a beautiful murti there, taken from that line drawing. I don't know who did the line drawing. So Rupa Goswami, he is the head of our sampradaya, in the sense that we aspire to be Rupanuga. When Srila Gurudev came to the West, he actually at that time, he came in 96, May 96. So that time I was the editor of a journal. 1996 was the centennial year of my Guru Maharaj. He was born in 1896. So there's centennial celebration, and they had made a journal called Prabhupada Anuga, following Prabhupada. Gurudev objected. I was the editor of that. He didn't challenge me personally on it, but he gave a lecture on it. Maybe anyway, one of his lectures there, and I surrendered without a shot being fired. So he said, we are not Prabhupada Anuga. And that's correct, actually, because my Guru Maharaj, his spiritual master, is also Prabhupada. So if we were Prabhupada Anuga, then he could have said, we are Prabhupada Anuga, but he didn't. He said, we're Rupa Anuga. And Srila Gurudev explained what it means, Rupa Anuga. So on one level, it means following Rupa Goswami. But on another level, it means actually following Rupa Manjari. Srila Rupa Goswami in the spiritual world, in Krishna's pastimes, his form is Rupa Manjari. And he's the chief Manjari following Lalita Devi in Lalita Gan. So our ultimate, cherished aspiration. Our cherished aspiration, which Srila Gurudev emphasized again and again, Radha Palyadasyam, under the shelter of Rupa Manjari. And he explained in those early lectures he explained that there's Rupanuga and Raganuga. So Raganuga means to follow the moods of the Ragatmic. Rag means intense attachment. So the Braj devotees, Braj associates, they have intense attachment to Krishna. So Rag, therefore they're called Ragatmic. It's their nature, Atmic is Rag. And then following that Rag is Raganuga. So anyone who's following the moods of the eternal associates in Braj, they are Raganuga. But they may not all be Rupanuga, because somebody may be, for example, give a simple example, in Jaiva Dharma, Babaji Maharaj, no, not Babaji Maharaj, Gopal Guru Goswami, he asks Vijay Kumar and Brajanath, so what is, basically he asks them, what is their original form, what's their aspiration? And Brajanath says, I want to help Subal Saka herd the cows. He's in Sakiras. And Vijay Kumar says, I'm a servant of, I feel like I'm a servant of Shri Lalita Devi. So Brajanath, he's Raganuga because he's following the moods of Subal, who's an eternal associate, of course, of Krishna and Braj. But he's not Rupanuga. He's not Rupanuga because he's not following Rupa Manjari. He's not in Madhurya. He's in Sakiras. He's not in amorous mood. He's in friendship mood. Similarly, Pujapad Dandi Maharaj is talking about Sri Ramananda Roy, and I've mentioned Sarva Damodar Goswami. So they presented themselves in Gaura Leela as Raganuga Bhaktas, but they're not Rupanuga. Sarva Damodar Goswami, he's Lalita in Krishna Leela. Ramananda Roy is Vishaka in Krishna Leela. So even they're in Madhurya Ras, but they're not following Rupa Goswami. Their mood is different. They have their own relationship with Krishna. Lalita, Vishaka, and the Ashtasakis, they have their own relationship, direct relationship with Krishna, whereas the Manjaris don't. They don't have any desire to associate with Krishna in the same way that the Sakis do. So Raghunath Das Goswami is praying. What's that? Namosta Nityam. Sakyayate mama namosta nityam. I'm offering my obeisances. He's praying to Srimati Radhika. I'm offering my obeisances to that mood of being your Saki. Sakyayate mama namosta nityam. I'm offering my obeisances to the Sakis because they're older, they're senior. Dasyayate mama rasosta satyam. But what I want is, what my mood I want to be is Dasiras. I want to be your Dasi. Kinkari. Kinkari means Kinkaromya. What can I do? What can I do? So Rupa Goswami or Rupa Manjari is, Shri Gurudev explained that our goal is to be both Raganuga and Rupanuga, following Shri Rupa Manjari. It's very, very, very distant goal. But at least we should understand what the goal is. Like if somebody wants to go to India, so they start collecting money and they get the visa and all like that. November the 15th. And then they can go. So they know the goal is there. They know what the goal is. But in the meantime, there are these practical steps that they take. So we have to practice Vaidhi Bhakti step by step. And gradually, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described to Sanatana Goswami, he's describing the 64 limbs of bhakti. And then straight into Raganuga Bhakti. And he says, those who develop intense attachment, they're very, very fortunate. And then he's talking about Svarasiki, talking about following the associates of Braj according to one's own taste, according to one's own nature. Not that somebody stamps us with a Sarup in Manjari Bhav or a Sarup in Sakya Bhav. No. According to our innate nature, Sri Gurudev, Prabhupada, they've all said that it's there already. We can't glorify Sri Rupa Goswami enough. But I want to say something about my Guru Maharaj also, his pastimes in Radha Damodar temple. So proceeding on round from, used to be, now they've obliterated it, unfortunately, but there was the place where Jiva Goswami used to wash his feet. They've taken that out, unfortunately. They made so many alterations there. It's horrendous, to be honest. Thousands of tons of concrete. And it used to be a very, very simple site. There's also the samadhi of Sri Bhugarbha Goswami. Bhugarbha Goswami is also a very important devotee. He was bosom friend of Sri Lokanath Das Goswami. Lokanath Das Goswami, he was a close associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu sent him to Braj, and Bhugarbha Goswami also. Bhugarbha, Bhu means earth, Garbha means in the womb. So Bhugarbha Goswami, he used to meditate in a cave, like many other eminent Vaishnavas. Shamananda Prabhu, there's his kupa near the Radha Gokulananda, not Radha Gokulananda, Radha Shamananda temple. And Sanatana Goswami also in Gokul Mahaban, very, very deep cave there. They've excavated out and made a Durga temple, but previously it had been. And Raghava Pandit at Giri Govardhan. So Lokanath Das Goswami and Bhugarbha Goswami, they were there. They gave blessings to, they're very eminent devotees. They gave blessings to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and said, don't mention our names. You can write, we give you blessings to write Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, but don't mention our names. And they're very actually important associates. And Lokanath Das Goswami especially, he's as Manjulali Manjari, he's one of the 8 Ashtasakis, as is Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Kasturi Manjari. So coming round, then there's my Guru Maharaj's rooms. There's landing there, veranda. On the left is his kitchen, and on the right is his living room and sleeping room. And there's a beautiful photograph in the kitchen. This beautiful photograph of Srila Prabhupada taking prasad at a table and looking out, because his window looks out at the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami. So, but this photograph was taken after Srila Prabhupada had gone to the West, and he'd come back with many disciples, just like Saraswati Prabhupada predicted. After his disciples went to the West and came back. And he said, now our preachers have come back from the West and they've been successful to some extent. But I predict that later, maybe a long time in the future, one of you will go to the West. And when you come back, you'll bring the whole world with you. So this picture is after Srila Prabhupada, and he's sitting taking prasad and looking out at Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. And one can just imagine his mood then, that, oh, previously I was here as an old Baba, poor old Baba, ascetic old Baba. Nobody knew who I was going to be. And now, by your mercy, just see. So Srila Prabhupada came here after he received sannyas from Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. He came to Vrindavan. He lived here for some time. He didn't immediately come to Radha Damodar temple. He went to another one. And then he came to stay, and he stayed at Radha Damodar temple for some time. So he was known at that time, he was known as very ascetic. Very poor. He lived by Madhukari. And Srila Gurudev related, he didn't even have a chadar. when he came, he used to bring his own chutney, put it on the floor, on the ground, and then he and Srila Prabhupada would sit on it and talk and cook like this. There's some pastimes I can relate. Like everywhere in India, so many spider webs, black. They're not black spiders, they're not black spider webs, but there's so much dust around, so they become black. And somebody came in one day and he cleaned the room and cleaned out all the spiders' webs. Srila Prabhupada came back and he looked, what happened to the spiders' webs? And the person explained what had happened. He cleaned them. I said, oh. But they're the original. We're newcomers here. He was so kind. There's another time he was sitting chanting and somebody like peeked in. You could see Prabhupada was chanting and crying. And there was a scorpion on the floor. So this person who's looking in said, hey, Swamiji, there's a scorpion on the floor. Shall I kill it? And Prabhupada can open his eyes. No, he's also Vaishnava. So he was, there's one very amazing letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to our Gurudev. Srila Prabhupada was at that time, he was in San Francisco, I suppose, or somewhere on the West Coast. He'd had very, very serious, like a stroke or something like that. There's one video, he says, I did not know whether I will exist. So his health, he said, I'm being kept alive only by the prayers of my disciples. He said, there's no lack here of prasadam, and people to serve me. But I'm appreciating more and more the broken kutir in Vrindavan, the torn quilt, and the bath in Yamuna. This is his life. And he left there to come to the West on the orders of his spiritual master. There's one Babaji was living, I don't know if he still is, Hridayananda Goswami, Hridayananda Babaji Maharaj. So he was living like right next to Radha Damodar. And he related how, hey Goswamiji, Hare Krishna. So he was relating how at night sometimes you'd hear crying. So once he went out to see what was happening, and my Guru Maharaj was sweeping in the yard and crying and calling out, oh Gurudev, you give me such a heavy task. How can I fulfill this task? How can I go preach in English in the West? How can I do this? It was unthinkable then. He's one old Baba, no money, no friends, no contacts, to go and to take over the West. It's unthinkable. Such a heavy task. Srila, when you go into his room, his living room, so there's a murti of Srila Prabhupada there, and they have letters and things that he wrote, and Prabhupada's got a pen in his hand, he's writing. So one of those poems, he's glorifying Radha Damodar temple, and he's saying such a sacred place, the Goswamis are so exalted. And he said that amongst the Goswamis, I've received special shelter from Srila Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami is Vilas Manjari in Krishna Lila. So Jiva Goswami is a great philosopher. I haven't heard exactly what specific mercy Srila Prabhupada received from Jiva Goswami. I did feel that Jiva Goswami being kind to me, like manifesting some proof of individual spirit soul, Atman, Supreme Spirit Soul. His philosophy, his definition of tattva is that tattva means it's true by experience and it can't be sublated. It means it can't be changed or it can't be reduced to anything else. This is tattva. So that it's a very important point to introduce that actually all the elements of Sankhya philosophy, they're all, tattva means they're all true by experience and you can't deny them, because if you try to deny them, they're present in the denial. I won't go into detail. Srila Prabhupada, he was very mindful about his journey to the West, and his friends in Vrindavan, his colleagues, or I don't know, they were against this idea. For one thing, if an Indian person goes beyond India, especially crosses the ocean, then he loses his caste. So Srila Prabhupada called a special meeting. He called them all together and he said, look, I've prepared these books, Srimad Bhagavatam, and I want to send them to the West. So I want you to bless these books to go to the West. And then he was handed the 3 volumes, I think, of first canto. And they're all solemnly blessing the books like that. So Prabhupada got them back on his table. And he said, now, these books can't go to the West by themselves. Somebody has to go with them. So I want you to give me blessings that I can go to the West and take this Srimad Bhagavatam with me. So he kind of tricked them into giving them his blessings. There was one person, a milkman, used to come. And one day he used to bring milk to Srila Prabhupada. And one day he came, the door was locked. So where's Swamiji? Oh, you didn't know? He's gone to the West. Gone to the West? Yeah. So then some years later, he saw Srila Prabhupada on the Parikrama Marg, surrounded by Western disciples. And this milkman is standing a little distant away. And Prabhupada saw him and called him, oh, come on, come on. And the milkman came over and Prabhupada introduced him. He said, he helped me when I didn't have any friends. Then he had somehow the Prabhupada had a necklace, somebody gave him, of semi-precious stones. And he took the necklace and he gave it to the milkman. And then the milkman he made earrings for his wife with these semi-precious stones. But he was just remembering Srila Prabhupada's gratitude that here's somebody who helped me when I was alone, and like almost friendless, nobody to help. Now I've come back, and his gratitude. So I think that if we can help Srila Prabhupada and our Gurudev to spread their mission when it's still in a very seedling stage, then later on they'll meet us and they'll give us so many precious jewels, express their gratitude. Even we're very rough, unqualified. But like Gurudev, one young disciple of Gurudev came in to see him, young man. And he said, Gurudev, I'm very bogus. And Gurudev said, yes, I love bogus people. He said, Gurudev, I'm very, very bogus. And Srila Gurudev said, yes, I love very, very bogus people. Very, very bogus. But just don't criticize Vaishnavas. So I'm praying at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, that they've opened this astounding transcendental landscape, premscape of Braj to us. So I'm praying at the lotus feet that somehow or other I can offer some service to them and that they'll be kind to me and send me forward on the devotional path. Vanchakalpatarubhasya pipasandavirata putitanam pavinebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Marji. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for your beautiful guitar. Actually, we're short of time, so I'm going to be very quick. There was one point I really wanted to highlight when you said you were talking about how, yes, you were talking about how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how Sri Damodar had told Mahaprabhu how he'd empowered Rupa Goswami, and in the same way Srila Prabhupada was explaining how he was empowered by his Gurudev. And you were alluding to the fact that if we can understand the heart of our Guru, then we can be empowered fully. And I thought that was very instructive for all of us to try and follow our Guru more firmly, with more faith and more enthusiasm. And it linked very nicely with the Dhruva Maharaj stories of, was it yesterday, where you and others were because it was an evening as well, were explaining that although we don't want the same goal, desire as Dhruva Maharaj, his firm faith in Narada Muni held him in such great stead. So I thought that was a really pertinent, I mean, there are many pertinent parts of your Katha, but that was the thing that went most into my heart.
It's not just following, but it's understanding their specific desire.
Understand their speciality.
Yeah, and Srila Gurudev emphasized, like there's one time we're on the roof with him in Mathura. So he said, I know you want to hear how Swamiji walked and how he lifted his cup when he's drinking, but you should know the speciality.
Yeah.
You should know the speciality. Like he explained the speciality of his Guru Maharaj. So if we don't know the speciality, then we can't fulfill the heart's desire of our acharyas.
Yeah.
So he was emphasizing that.
I felt that very strongly during the Tirubala Festival of Rupa Goswami, because it made such a strong impression upon me how that is Gurudev's heart's desire, and how and Chaitanya Maharaj had impressed that upon me a lot. And yeah, you definitely feel that flow of mercy when you're more attuned to Gurudev's heart's desire, your Gurudev's heart's desire. Maharaj, you mentioned about a story of Radha binding Krishna. Where is that story?
I don't remember where I've read it. I think it's in Sri Rupa Goswami is written in Sri Kartik Mahatmya. But I've read it somewhere and I don't remember where I've read it. I haven't read the Kartik Mahatmya, but I've read that. I've read a quotation.
Uh-huh. Well, if you find anything about that, please let me know.
Okay.
It's amazing. And it was a very brief pastime, but could you just, when Jiva Goswami went to Navadvip, you mentioned that he wanted to stay there, but Nityananda Prabhu ordered him back to Vrindavan based on Mahaprabhu's orders. And then you said that he left. There was just that one bit. It was a beautiful vision, but it kind of went so quickly I couldn't follow it. It was he went over the river in Navadvip, and then he met with just explain that. Just go through that again, would you? It was very
At
beautiful.
the very end of Sri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, Sri Thakur Bhaktivinoda says that as Sri Jiva Goswami went over the boundary, wherever that is, I don't know, went over the boundary of Navadvip, then Vrindavan and his uncles, Rupa and Sanatan, awakened in his heart.
Oh. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay. Shifting swiftly back to Godrum and our Shripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj, part of this duet, this flute duet of Sri Gurudev's. And I think you're finishing in Shringaravat, right, Maharaj?
Yeah, Shringaravat. Okay, shall I move ahead?
Yes.
Okay. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So we're continuing our parikrama. We've come from Imlital, and we've heard something of the glories of Sevakunj. Of course, all these glories are very much under wraps, so to speak. And the key, as our beloved Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj has described, is in the hands of all our acharyas. And those keys get turned according to our affection and nishta and service to the acharyas. This is how all of this becomes revealed to the practicing sadhaks, that when we take shelter, as we've just done for the last hour in Radha Damodar, hearing about all these illustrious personalities, that we are connecting to the current of their teachings, etc. And this is allowing us, particularly by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami, he's particularly taking us in to this Braja Prem, these Braja Prem topics, this Braja Ras. Before I came to Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, I practically had no idea really of these topics at all. So today, where we've been to Imli Tal and Sevakunj and Radha Damodar, these places themselves just ooze with these rasic pastimes. And as Srila Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj described, there is the Rasa Tattva and there is the Tattva Vichar. Tattva Vichar and Rasa Vichar, these two parallel states of consciousness, we can say, that both simultaneously should be cultivated. But particularly today, we are sitting in a rasic focused place because Imli Tal was such a rasic appreciation of the manifestation of Mahaprabhu in separation from Krishna, in separation from Shri Radhika, and then Sevakunj was so beautiful continuation from there. And now we've journeyed around to our final destination of Sringaravat. Sringaravat is the actual place where Krishna catches up with Radhika and pacifies her man by decorating her with flowers, etc., her hair and everything. And as Pujapad Nemi Maharaj described, that now Shri Radhika is sitting in the place of Swadhina Bhartika. She's in this highest heroine's state where she's completely controlling Krishna. And together they begin to wander through the forest. And at that time, as I already described, the gopis, they are beginning to catch up. Krishna leaves by that beautiful arrangement when he asks Radhika to sit on his shoulder. And Radhika, she goes to sit on his shoulder and Krishna disappears. Radhika thinks that she has made an offense by requesting Krishna to carry her. And she falls piteously to the ground. And at that point, now this is the very important point of this whole Leela, then the gopis, they catch up and they see the extremity of Radhika's separation. They see the height of her separation. And they were feeling previously that they were suffering excruciatingly. As I described, they were like demented mad women. This is how Shukadev Goswami describes them. But when they meet Sri Radhika, when they see her condition of separation, then they are all silenced. Then they realized actually the love that Sri Radhika has for Krishna is 1,000,000 times greater than any of us. So this was the delicate equation that Krishna wanted to create so that Radhika would be fully installed in the center of the ras with the full due honor by all the other gopis. When they've seen her separation, when Krishna has left her, she's cried out, "Hey Raman, hey Raman Preshta, Kwasi Kwasi Mahabhuja." She cries out this beautiful verse in lamentation and then falls to the ground. So we can't conceive of this mood of separation. This is from another dimension, so to speak. This is Mohanaki Mahabhav. This is the highest bhav in separation. This is again when these 8 blazing emotions that touch the very core of the elements of the body, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, are being propelled into a completely blazing condition. This is how all the gopis find Sri Radhika. And then they all, even Chandravali runs forward and tries to, I think you have to mute somebody that is chanting into the microphone. Yashoda, you know how to mute people? Okay. Very nice to hear the Maha Mantra coming through there, whoever it was. Thank you. So, yes, this is what Radha and Krishna designed, that Radhika would become again the total queen of the ras. Only in this way will the ras become completely reach its pinnacle, where all of the gopis will achieve this highest state. So this is Shringaravat, and we have some beautiful pictures here, just a couple of pictures, just one or two of them, if it's possible to throw them on the screen. It's an extraordinarily beautiful, quiet type of a hidden away, somewhat temple. It's coming around from the bustle and crowded area of Radha Damodar, and we come into this very quiet temple. It's the bottom two, Yashoda.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got them. So if you put both of them, yes. So this beautiful, beautiful temple you can see here, this is Shringaravat. And just you walk up those little stairs there and you see inside very, very beautiful, gorgeous deities. There's Gornitai are there because this tree that we're looking at to our right is the Vat, that special tree that Nityananda himself rested against when he came here searching for his Mahaprabhu, searching for Nimai, searching for Sachinandan Gaurahari. And he was sitting here praying wondering. He hadn't met Mahaprabhu yet in his birth, and yet he traveled all throughout India, etc. He went with Lakshmipati Tirtha, he met Madhavendra Puri, and he was in a completely intoxicated condition of prem, being in Vrindavan and being at Shringaravat. And it was here that he heard an aerial voice. Now your Nimai, he's in Navadvip. You must go there and meet him. So at this point, Nityananda, he immediately leaves for Navadvip. But this is the place also where we remember Nityananda Prabhu. We remember him and his greatness and his mercy that he can deliver. So this is a very powerful place, this Shringaravat. So we're hearing the pastime, the conclusion of the Rasa Leela pastime, where the gopis, all the parties, the Vipaksh, the Surit, and the Tatashta, they have caught up with Sri Radhika, and they've all become reconciled as a single unit now. Because in the initial dance that's described in the 29th chapter, the very first Ras Leela, where Krishna leaves, the gopis, they still had their identities of their own particular groups. There's 4 groups of gopis. The Vipaksh, that's Chandravali, and the Surit, that's like Shamali, and the Tatashta, that's headed by Bhadra. And then there's the Swapaksh, of course, headed by Sri Radhika. So these groups were creating some disunity in the ultimate pinnacle of prem that could be reached. So all these groups were purified when they acknowledged the absolute supremacy of Sri Radhika, when they find her here, very, very close to here at Shringaravat. Meanwhile, Krishna, of course, he's gone to
text service, as shown on the window stickers.
He's gone
Including
to
cigarette and drinking alcohol
oh
is not permitted at any time, anywhere on this coach.
What is that?
Your driver will
God.
keep you updated with announcements during your journey
Sorry,
when it is safe to do so. In the event
wow, interesting, bringing us into another world.
It's bizarre.
Definitely. Okay, so we are sitting in Shringaravat. We've just completed quite a brief physical parikrama, but a very, very lengthy, in-depth, confidential parikrama, coming from the appreciation of Mahaprabhu's identity, why he actually advented, what he wanted to achieve, what he wanted to taste, etc., with the backdrop of all the Vrindavan pastimes. And then Pujapad Nemi Maharaj has beautifully described the aspects of Rasa Tattva and how Rupa Goswami is walking us through every single stage of this so that we can gradually begin to appreciate, not understand, but appreciate these subject matters more and more. And of course, it's according to our various personal practices that will give us the eligibility to enter more comfortably into these pastimes. But all the way around Braj, it's just going to be more and more pastimes of this nature unfolding gradually. At the end of a month, we will have heard so many esoteric pastimes of this nature, and we will be so much enriched, actually, ultimately, by these experiences of these various very esoteric descriptions sometimes. So in Sringaravat, often we sing the beautiful Gopi Geet, because that is the next stage of the story. After they meet Sri Radhika, after they all conclude that Radhika is the queen of the Ras, and they all are completely submissive to her, now the chemistry is right for the entire Ras Leela to take its course. And then all of them together, they go to the very beautiful, clean banks of the Jamuna close by, and then they begin to sing, Jayati Tedikam Janmana Braja Shrayata Indira Shashwaratrahi Daita Drishyatam Dikshutavakas Tvaidrita Shavas Tvam Vichinvate. This most beautiful, there's 18 verses, this most beautiful Gopi Geet. It's probably the most beautiful chapter in all of the Bhagavatam. It's the pinnacle of the separation mood that the gopis collectively are trying to invoke Krishna's presence to come back and nourish their hearts once more. They've all just been touched by dancing previously with him, so he ignited that prem to such a pitch, and then he left them. So this meeting and separation mood must be there, because without the separation, then the height of the meeting cannot be achieved. So the separation is part of the process, we can say, to actually bring about the greatest bliss and pleasure of meeting. It's described that meeting and separation both have the same extremities of bliss within them. They both ultimately, this Mohan Akya Mahabhav is separation. And this is described as having 8 blazing Sattvika bhavs. And the Madanakya Mahabhav also has 8 blazing Sattvika bhavs. So both. Gurudev used to say regularly that separation is the pinnacle and meeting is the highest. So don't try to differentiate and become logical about which is more blissful than the other. So we have that conclusion given by Srila Gurudev. So after this song of separation, then of course Krishna, he's completely satisfied. Now everything is correct. Now we can proceed with the Ras Leela. Then he comes back into their midst, and there's the beautiful verse that he quotes to them, Na paryeham niravadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibhudyasyapiva, that he's begging, he's holding his pitamba between his teeth, and he's begging the gopis that I cannot repay you for your love and devotion. You've left your home, you've left your families, you've left absolutely everything just to come and offer your devotion to me and to dance with me on this night. I cannot repay you even in a day or a night, a lifetime of Lord Brahma. So this melted the gopis' hearts, of course, and immediately they embraced Krishna in different ways. There's beautiful pastimes described there, how different gopis, they responded in different ways. Radharani, she stands up in the distance and she doesn't run to embrace him. She just shoots him a very Manini glance from her eyebrows. How did you put us through so much torturous separation? Chandravali, for example, she immediately massages Krishna's hands and Krishna's feet. This is a different mood. So all of these moods, all these churnings are revealed by Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. And Rupa Goswami has infused the heart of our Guru Vargya to impart them to us. And somehow or other, we want to drink these descriptions and somehow relish them during our chanting and bhajan, and to be able to, at some point in a future life, perhaps enter into that world of the apricot dham. So Sringaravat ki jai. Oh, one thing I made an omission in Imlital, the personality who manifested that temple, his name is Srila Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, and he should also be mentioned. Srila Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj was a greatly influential type of personality, a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and he managed to secure that property and built that temple. So Srila Gurudev always will glorify that personality, but I omitted him when we were sitting there. But now we're from Shingaravat, and now we're just going to proceed around the bank of the Jamuna on our left and return to our Gopinath Bhavan for our lunch prasadam. So, Parikrama, fourth day, Ki Jai. Dandavat pranams to all the devotees who have so patiently listened all the way through today. It's been a long class, and hopefully we'll keep it a bit shorter next time. I'm just taking advantage of you all sitting there. If we were on Parikrama, we wouldn't be allowed more than 10 or 12 minutes maximum. Gurudev would usually give us 3 or 4 minutes and then grab the microphone from us. So somehow we're just running amok here and just taking over, quantities of time, because the devotees are responding so beautifully and patiently listening to all these various kathas. So my dandavat pranams to all the assembled devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhavevacha patitanam pavnibhyo vaishnave namo namaha.
Haribol.
Okay.
Maharaj.
Tarun was saying yesterday or the other day how it's an advantage because we don't have to go through the bus rides to get from one. But the disadvantage is we don't get any prasadam from the paragrams.
But also,
once I had a Maharaj staying with me, I won't mention who it was, and this person has a reputation for speaking quite a long time. And he made the mistake of turning to me after 45 minutes. He said, "Oh, what time is it you showed?" And I said, "It's prasadam time, Maharaj." And everybody just got up and took prasadam. We can't do that on Zoom. Anyhow, it was a totally delicious morning or evening or afternoon, depending where you are. And I wanted to give deep thanks and gratitude to both Shripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj and Shripad Bhaktivedanta Chaitanya Maharaj, because they are really giving their whole hearts to this endeavor. And I know they're pleasing Srila Gurudev, and they're definitely pleasing all of us. And we're so grateful that we can dive into the nectar of Braj through both of your guidance. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at the same time. And tonight, if you can spare the time for the second installment at 6 p.m. London time, which is 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, New York time. If you're on the continent of Europe, then it would be 7 p.m. And we have tonight on the same locations, Shripad Bhaktivedanta Bhagavat Maharaj, Srimati Shamarani Didi, and Shriman Prem Priyojan Prabhu. Hari Bol, and I will hand over to Shriman Manas Prabhu, who will be performing his beautiful kirtan to close the program out. Hari Bol.